We're just gonna give it 1 or 2 more minutes and then we'll get started. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Looks like things have petered off. Thanks everyone for joining us this afternoon. We've got a small group in the meeting room and then a handful of folks online. So thank you for staying inside on this nice sunny day. Let's see if my computer will respond. So we've got a couple of things to go over today, mostly grant updates. So we've got another state of the watershed update, kind of building off of what we talked about last meeting. Updates on our strategically reforesting Bay County grant. That's the FDACS grant that I've also talked about. Exciting news about our newly funded grant with the Marine Debris Interception Technology Program from NOAA. And then lots of program updates with National Estuaries Week and other events that the Estuary program has going on. So we'll go ahead and get started and dive on into the SOUR, or the state of the watershed. Last meeting, we talked a lot about the framework and kind of how we're going to show conditions. So looking at that stoplight variation, we added a couple of extra colors than a traditional stoplight. This color condition stoplight is really to reflect our current condition with the latest available data, ideally 2023, where we have data through 2023. Then we'll pair that with trends in the data using long-term data where possible. We had a good conversation about that last time as well, kind of thinking about, do we want to show short and long-term, only long-term, things like that. We also talked about kind of the symbol that we want to use to show the trend and settled on the arrows versus like a plus or minus sign. And then we have confidence. We really wanted to have something to kind of indicate how confident we are in the assignment of the condition, the stoplight color, and that trend. This allows us to still kind of be able to assign these things for maybe some of our metrics that don't have a ton of data, and we can bump that cell signal down to the lowest bar to show that we're not that confident because maybe we don't have as much data. So those are the big pieces of the framework. And again, I'll just go real through bit by bit, and then Rose has done a lot of excellent work to put together a couple of examples with our metrics so that you can see what it'll look like in the full report following this framework. So again, our current condition, what it's looking like right now, or the latest year of available data, stoplight going from critical warning to stay the course, plus trend indicated by arrows, We went with double arrows for significant declining or significant improving, just to make it very obvious that it's significant versus changing the size. And then our confidence of 3 levels, low, medium, and
Yeah.
so breaking it down further, we talked a lot about kind of what these different categories, colors should mean. So kind of initially had caution twice. We talked about removing that. So that light green color is kind of titled positive indicators. And then yellow being caution, orange, warning, and red. So we'll kind of always have this more stoplight figure legend on our maps and things, and then have this more detailed breakdown of deeper explanation of that condition. And then our framework, again, everything from significantly declining to significantly improving, indicated by arrows. And our confidence of low, medium, high. Again, this will be kind of where we can incorporate if we don't have a lot of data, if the trend statistic isn't very strong, and things like that. So that's really where we talked about and really focused on like what these pieces are last time. And Rose has done a lot of work to put together this format for some of our metrics. So this is showing you seagrass extent. Here's our condition in the map, so you can see most of all of St. Andrew Bay is really in the positive indicator section, with St. Joe Bay in critical warning. And the trends are showing stable for the different bay segments in St. Andrew Bay, and then declining for St. Joe Bay. And this is from data from the Seagrass Integrated Mapping and Monitoring reports, and they also provide kind of thresholds and color coding conditions in there. So we really leaned on that previous work to assign these conditions. So the biggest thing of note here is that this current condition is different for each of the bays. So St. Andrew, the mapping data is from 2017, and St. Joe, it's from 2019. So definitely need to have these updated. So it's not, so we are going to run into situations where, you know, our mapped information of current condition, it's going to vary on the year of the data available for the most recent. Any questions on what this looks like?
Could you go back to the arrows? That one. Explain the double to the single to the holding.
Yes, so double is, it's a significantly declining trend. So like the p-value, if we ran a linear regression, is significant, and declining, we can see that there's a declining trend, but it's not significant.
Okay, so it's not linear.
No.
Okay, that's what was fooling me.
It's really tied to like the trend analysis.
I got you. So
Yeah.
so we'll just see a double arrow or a single arrow. Okay.
In the report, we'll have
yeah.
the, you know, metrics for those results, but in
Okay, that's what was confusing me, was there's 2 to 1 and then, you know, holding steady. But that's, yeah.
I have the answer for that question right here. Actually, I brought the reports because I thought that might be a question.
Yeah, so the Seagrass Integrated Mapping and Monitoring, I'm not sure, I'm assuming that should have come on, but there is a new revamp of the Seagrass Integrated Mapping and Monitoring section with FWRI, and they are going to be remapping St. Andrew Bay. St. Joe Bay just had mapping redone for a crop scar project that they'll be able to use to quantify seagrass cover as well. I think the goal and hope with the new Seagrass Integrated Mapping program is that it will be a more reoccurring schedule, like Swiftmud down south. But right now it's definitely kind of advantageous, I would say. And Rose, if you wanna throw in what you have from the
Oh,
previous
yeah,
reports.
we also have a chart coming up with it, but. We can also do a no trend, but we can talk about that.
Yeah.
So for St. Andrew Bay, we have 1992, 2003, 2010, 2015, and 2017. And for St. Joe Bay, it's 92, 03, 2010, 2015, 2017. So.
Yeah, so there's a little variation between bays on what's available essentially. And this figure is just showing you that a little more clearly. So these sorts of graphics of the kind of the trends will be in the report and the summary statistics for the trend analyses. And then Mike, I saw your comment about should there be a no trend versus stable? Yes. For as we're going through and running the analyses, we've been just marking no trend if we have it versus stable. So we'll differentiate that to make it clear. Any other questions on the seagrass extent?
What is that? I can't see the slide.
Yeah, it's
Here,
hard to see.
The trough there in all of the different.
So St. Joe Bay is on the top. And then the rest of them are just the different segments within St. Andrew Bay. So historically, St.
I didn't see the top. I was focusing on the bottom. I was just wondering, in terms of the sampling period, how historically, and it would have to be historically, how much has that varied from year to year? I'm looking at it now, so I'm getting an answer on this.
Yeah.
Or not year to year.
Yeah, definitely not year to year, but. And then Meg just added that they just had mapping done in St. Joe this past spring, and they're working to get that to partners and the contractors. And it will be included in future FWC reports.
So this is just based on acreage. Is there a suitability?
We don't have a suitability.
So there's no way to say maybe stable, but you know, it's only 50% of where it
Used to be.
could or should be given existing conditions. Right?
Yeah, so rather than using like maybe the data from 1950 as the baseline, we did not do that to
Okay.
kind of use that as.
Well, I think that's okay because your baseline conditions may have changed. We may be more fresh, more salt,
Yeah.
whatever the case may be, but I guess at some point it'd be good to get like a suitability analysis done to see how are we comparing to what.
I think Becca with the SIM program, I think part of it seems like they're trying to just figure out where mapping has occurred. And they
Right.
pull seagrass data from it. It's seagrass there historically to be able to kind of get at that suitability. Should we be looking for seagrass in this area type of thing?
How do you design a suitability study?
Well, the way it was done for oysters over in Pensacola Bay is, and TNC led that effort. They basically identified what, like salinity, substrate.
It's done pretty often for like wildlife species.
Right, suitable
Like,
where's the suitable
habitat
habitat
for like
compared to where it is?
So it's just the predominant variables that affect
Yes,
the levels and
And then they go out and do so like, let's just say it's just strictly salinity, for ease of discussion. And let's say it's a range between, 10 and 18. Then you go out and measure salinity and identify where in the system, right? And that way you can at least know from a environmental perspective, where can seagrass be supported? And then compare that to where it exists. And that's still kind of gross measurement because there's maybe other nuances that are either preventing it or affecting it, but at least get you an idea of, it may be stable, but we're only at a fourth of where it could be supported, right?
And then Joy just added that a lot of time, like bathymetry is really important for
Right.
each assignment. So if you don't have good bathymetry data, then be worth
Right.
running right now. But I think those are the sorts of things that we can incorporate into the report as kind of like future directions to take these things. What do we need to be able to better understand the true status?
And that would be really important, because then you can point to that
Mhm.
when you're going after funds, saying, hey, we did the state of watershed, this was identified as a gap, and anytime you can point to a report, so you know, it helps you get,
Yeah.
make a better case for that.
So then the other related seagrass metric that we have is seagrass cover type. A lot of times referred to as texture, cover, or patchy versus continuous. And so this is just showing you continuous. We use continuous only because of course continuous and patchy are correlated. So this is just showing you that for all of the bay segments, we're at a caution. But seeing an increasing trend in continuous acreage, again, based on the data that we have.
And the double arrows mean it's like a steep trend, yeah.
Significantly, yep.
Okay.
Any questions on the cover type? Here's the sort of graphics. Something like this will also include in the report, but maybe not on that interactive dashboard. That's a little more public friendly. Okay, question about confidence level. Yes, so Rose, would you like to take it away?
So you sort of go back and forth with this, if I'm not explaining it well. So our confidence is based on both like our professional understandings, any statistical analysis that we have, like the strength of that analysis, and then any professional judgment that we get from, and then also things like what's stated in reports. So for seagrass extent, we were really confident in what we put because it's also clearly explained in the recent reports, but seagrass cover type is not really detailed in these reports, so we're basing it off of like our understanding of this and our own analysis, but we can't put like a 100%, confidence on it. That cleared it up.
Then the other one, oh no, this got moved all funky. The other one that we have updated to show you is our loggerhead sea turtle. This is for species of conservation concern. So we worked to get all of the nesting data. This is just nesting information. And so we kind of used professional judgment to help identify what the condition would be based on the trends, or based on the current numbers of nesting from 2023. And there's a little back and forth on what condition it should be. And so we played more cautiously and went with yellow as caution, based on feedback from a couple of different sea turtle folks.
So are they basing it on a baseline year or something?
So there is some work that for the state of Florida that, and for the region that identifies kind of like target numbers, I think 30%.
3% for the northern Gulf of Mexico region.
Yes, but a lot of the feedback we received is that using sea turtle nesting only is not really the best and most accurate way to assess their status, and you really would want hatchery. but not all of the beaches do hatch rate here. So we just used nesting, total number
And
of
just
nests.
total number of nests, okay.
Yeah, and so just because of the fact that we know that it's not the best way to really assess their status, but it is what we had the most widely available for all of these management areas. We used that, and just because we're not confident, we know that that's not the best way to assess their status.
Mhm.
We bumped the confidence level down and then kind of used caution as a to kind of make up for not having the best data.
So,
And based on, we essentially had light green or yellow were the two categories that we received feedback on, so we went with yellow.
now turtles are on, is it a 15-year,
It's 50.
50-year
Yeah, it's like a 50-year life, like
return?
tracking, something like that.
I thought it was 15, but it's 50?
We may be thinking of different things.
So what I'm saying is, so I hatch this year, it's gonna take me 15 years.
Oh, like their life
To
history
come back.
I
thing.
think that was a 50-year one, but I'd have to go back and.
I think it
Pull
also
the
probably
email.
depends on the species.
Okay, and I guess where I was going with that did y'all look at whether it's 15 or 50, whatever that number is? Did you look at like 15 years ago? How did this year compare to 50, let's say 50, you know? Just kind of because we know turtles go back to where they,
I see what you're saying.
yeah,
We did not, to assign the condition, we didn't use like a baseline year or anything like that. We leaned on more professional judgment.
just what, okay.
Yeah, so we talked with like Kennard with PCB, Turtle Watch, and then Dan and Meg Lamont.
So Shell Island only has 2 years worth of data, so we could assign a condition, but we couldn't assign any sort of trend.
And that's the data, we also got the data from FWC. They said that they have that, they're supposed to be the house of all of it, so
Right.
if they don't have it, then it may not exist, of course, who, you know.
Right. And here's, you know, why I'm thinking about this. So we know during the oil spill, you know, that was a bad year. And then they tried to relocate. So whatever that's like that interval is,
Yeah.
when that interval comes back, you're likely to have a lot lower numbers. But it's not reflective on how things are going now because there is such a long time before they return.
Yeah.
So that might be just a neat
It'd be
discussion
just
to
an
try to
interesting, yeah.
figure that out. Cause it's not like you know, what you're doing something today is gonna impact next year. Well, you could if there's no beaches there, but it's just a
Would be
weird.
Definitely interesting.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions? Are you only focusing on loggerheads because they're the most common? Yes, so we do have the data for the other species too, but for the report and the dashboard, we really wanted to focus it on kind of the focal and most common species. But we have the other data, so I could see us talking about it in the report, but not necessarily using it to build the condition.
And have y'all thought, so that brings up a good point. So in the report, have y'all thought about like in sections like this where it's kind of not
Not ideal.
ideal, intuitive, maybe putting a placeholder where,
Yes.
you know, like, hey, we're gonna work on this because, you know, this needs some more thinking to be reflective on.
So that'll get included in sort of the like data gap situation, like discussion or, you know, limitations to our data
Okay.
moving forward, you know, so on.
I think as we continue to do these analyses, Rose and I are realizing there's going to be lots of data
Yeah.
gaps and
Yeah.
limitations.
And that's
to talk
okay, I mean,
about.
it's just, I want to put little trackers on the turtle, you know, ones they relocated. To kind of see, you know, do they survive, what's the survivability of them, and then. Really interesting to see if they would go to where they were. Transplanted or back to here. But yeah, they did, that was frowned upon, so they did that.
And sorry, I keep forgetting to click through to this, to the data slides, but here's a more detailed breakdown.
And see, that's a great example though. I mean, there's the variability between years. You know, if the R squared on that's like 93% based on the whatever the year is, then that tells you, okay, that's the primary driver, and then so setting it up for future.
Yeah, and I might, break these out too, because some of the colors are kind of difficult
Yeah.
to tell what's what, but for right now, it's a good sort of overview.
We'll make them pretty.
Yeah. we'll make it pretty.
But yeah, so those are the three kind of example metrics we just wanted to walk through. Kind of get some feedback on what they looked like, if those, the tables and the maps kind of make sense and flow. So overarching feedback on any of that, have any, let us know. Now or later. But those are kind of the key couple examples I wanted to walk through today. So this is in a nutshell what each metric will have, and then indicators, and everyone will have something just like that for the report.
Yeah, a lot of work, looking good.
So Rose has been working hard at the computer.
That's a good point.
Any thoughts on including length of beach for each section? Yeah, that's a great point. We can look into that.
I mean, there's so many factors, hurricanes and.
We're trying to do the simple
Yeah.
to start, and
Oh, no, I understand that, but I mean, just in your write-up sections, it's like, hey, here's all the variables, and things that really are beyond your control. You get a tropical storm, you lose 100 foot of beach. Nothing you can do about that. And predators. It's another.
So the map is colored to match the condition. So like if the management units on the map are yellow, it's because the condition for that management unit is yellow.
for 2020.
For 2023, yes, for the most recent data. So trying to map like visually or match visually what's on the map to what's in the table, so that they're easy to, to tell together.
Mhm.
And then in the dashboard, what we envision is, so you're on this map, for example, and you're like, oh, I wanna drill in and look at Shell Island. You would be able to click, that's not a good example, because we know there's not a lot of data there, but whatever. St. Andrews State Park, you click on that management unit and a graph for just like the number of nests for St. Andrews State Park would pop up, so then you could look at the trend over time just for that one. So that'll be on the dashboard. Obviously, that's hard to do in the report to have that interactive part, but that's kind of the vision we're thinking of for the dashboard.
So that's a good question, because then the question is, going back to the length of the segment, would that, I'm guessing you'd want to put it on the, when you drill down, but that also, if you
could do number of nests and
like per
area.
Yeah.
Area, yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions and overarching comments on the state of the watershed? We are moving forward. The report is due November 30th, so Rose and I are working hard, chipping away at it to get it done on time, and then the dashboard will get edited and come in after that. December, January. Okay, the other part of the state of the watershed that we wanted to touch base on is the nature-based solutions. So we have 11 indicators and 32 metrics, and one of those is nature-based solution projects, kind of just trying to understand how many projects we have in our watershed and where we are in relation to other areas possibly, to kind of qualify that condition. But we've done a lot of searching and there's not really a one-stop shop that you can find these projects. So Katie Contra with TNC was able to pull together some, so we went through the resources that she sent us and pulled out the ones in our watershed. But we're just looking for help to fill in any other nature-based solutions projects you may know of that have occurred in our watershed. With being in our watershed, and then for this metric in general, we're trying to figure out the best way to assign a condition and are kind of gonna compare to maybe how many nature-based solution projects we have to some of the other areas in the Gulf as a way to assign a condition. Like, are we in the red because we have like 5 compared to other places that have 100, or where we are? Yes, we do have parameters that we want, and so those are in that spreadsheet. We've got a README tab. Go ahead and click this open. So we're looking for things that include living shoreline projects and habitat restoration projects such as dune restoration, oyster reef restoration, wetland restoration, and native land restoration. It's kind of our narrowed focus for this first round of our state of the watershed report.
So I'm assuming you're looking at constructed, but are you also going to identify, we've got a lot that are in some stage of development and planning.
So we're open to anything can go on the list. It probably, if it's not kind of like active and doing the thing as a nature-based solution, it probably won't count in this iteration of the state of the watershed, but then once it is active and doing a thing, then we would update that metric. So if you know that there's something that's in like a planning phase, I think add that on there, and then Rose and I will filter out the ones that make it into this iteration of the state of the watershed.
I mean, I would think about if it's not included in the number, which I guess maybe there should be some columns like constructed, because there's like Sweet Bay and
so we haven't included those ones because we know they're not active right now.
Right, but I guess this measure, I think one of the reasons that it's in there is are the local governments using this approach, because we want them to, and so having a recognition that they're actively pursuing funding to do these projects, they've identified locations, is probably a good thing to track and at least make note of, so that people reading the reports say, Panama City's got 10 projects they're trying to do, which is a great thing. And hopefully increase public support, because the city maybe wants to do half a penny sales tax to try to fund these, you can point to this to say, hey, here's. Throw that out.
No, that's a great suggestion. We'll kind of edit the spreadsheet. Right, for what we put out for the state of the watershed, we were really just focused on what we know is like.
I get that.
But I think moving forward, tracking these different things will be helpful and important. And I know the SUNS project, Scaling Up Nature-Based Solutions, does that as well. So try not to duplicate efforts. We get.
No,
But we can pull from that to focus on.
Right,
our
right.
area. So we're our plan is to leave this kind of open for the next week or two. And then Rose and I will pull down what gets entered there, and whatever is there by October 1st will be what makes it into our analysis. And then, but please feel free to keep adding if you would like.
And you're gonna send that link out?
Yes, it's in the chat and I'll send it back.
Okay.
Like with the meeting notes.
Okay.
It should be in the agenda link, but sometimes the links break. Up to our slides. All right, that wraps up our state of the watershed update for today. But we are moving forward and on track to complete the report by November 30.
Awesome. A lot of work. Great job.
Yes, Rose has been doing a great job. All right, next, just wanted to provide a short update on our FDACS grant, strategically reforesting Bay County. So this again is a planning grant looking at stormwater potential generated kind of at the WIBID scale, looking at how outfalls play a role in that, and then how land cover play a role in it. And then based on those two things, identifying areas that have a lot of stormwater where trees could be planted to help mitigate that stormwater. So the end product will be kind of like a story map or dashboard where people can zoom around and see, oh, this area has really high stormwater and we can plant trees here in this publicly accessible parcel. So it's really intended for kind of our municipalities to help them prioritize maybe where they need to be planting trees. And so we talked about it a bit last time. But one of the things we need to do is do a little ground truthing on all of these outfalls. So this dark purple dots are kind of all of the outfalls that we have acquired data for at this point. Some of them have not been checked or in a very long time or updated. City of Kansas City just finished going through and verifying all of their outfalls this past year, but not every city does that. So one part of this will be kind of valid ground truthing, a subset of these to just get a sense of how accurate this data is and whether our county and municipalities may need to invest some more time ground truthing. So this draw over here with the green and purple dots is kind of a first stab at sampling, a spatially balanced sampling. Maybe not totally balanced, but we're working on making it better. But this would be a subset of the outfalls to go in ground truth. And I specifically were interested in kind of ground truthing the ones that are really more on the bay themselves. So this is just limiting to like a 1/2 meter buffer around the bay, which greatly helps cut down on how many outfalls we need to check if we were going to do 10%. So this is about 374 outfalls that we would then need to go validate. We're hoping we can do some with desktop reconnaissance and then go out to the ones that we can't tell using our desktop. We have a high school student who seems more interested in maybe environmental engineering who's interning with us. So this might be a task that we'll work with her on. We'll have to see how interested she really is in it. So that's just a short update on that part of it. And Mike with EPA has helped us out with that, so very much appreciate that. And then this is kind of what we'll use to build that stormwater potential, a little bit of it. So this is just showing you the water boundary IDs. They're a bit smaller than Hub 12s in some cases, but this is what the state of Florida uses for a lot of things. So this is summarizing our number of outfalls by WIBID, and then our percent impervious surface by WIBID. the percent impervious is really not that shocking.
Right.
Based on where it is. And so we're working on pulling curve numbers and the soil data to generate runoff estimates per WIBID with our land cover. And I think that that's likely what we'll use to kind of get our runoff estimates to add into this stormwater potential calculation.
Trying to think of are using the NRCS TI, whatever, 85 or something like that.
Yeah.
That was my directed study in college for Watershed in Pensacola. It's actually, it was sobering because this goes, I mean, this is back in 88. And back then, the infrastructure we had in the sub-watershed that I grew up in, I showed that at a 10-year storm, the stormwater infrastructure was already
Out of date.
over capacity. Yeah. I mean, and that's pretty, I mean, I can't imagine today. It's scary when you start looking at the infrastructure that's in place right now.
If you live on the west side, and you see what they're doing to the roads and how bad flooding was in the last rain. I'm sitting here, I'm having evil thoughts and things I couldn't talk about, but I mean, is there any way that this type of map can suggest to developers and commissioners that certain steps have to be taken to control the amount of deforestation they're still doing?
Not just the deforestation, but the size of the infrastructure they're putting in.
And I mean, I heard a county commission issue that involved our neighborhood. And you know, say nothing about the company's names or anything, but they wanted to put a business on a street corner, and there's a residential neighborhood with a person living just behind that street corner who obviously has a lot of investment in that project. But what they want to do is try and combine a necessary retention pond with green infrastructure to solve the stormwater requirements on a lot that's impossibly small. And I just, it turned my stomach to listen to the whole conversation.
Yeah.
So I know I digress here, but.
No, it's a real issue. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, stormwater is probably one of the #1 issues that we hear from and talk about, so please share whatever you are hearing, and it's something, we do have a stormwater work group that right now really has representatives from some of the municipalities. We haven't pulled everyone in yet, but they have asked for help trying to get trainings and things like that, so people are better in the know about general stormwater, but then even more specific trainings.
And we even have new problems on Lake Powell too. I'll show you a picture after this meeting that you want to meet. New construction going on.
Well, the sad thing is, if you undersize it today, the cost to go retrofit is just, I mean, people think about how much it's gonna cost today. We don't wanna, upgrade to 6 inches because it's gonna cost so much. Well, in 10 years, how much do you think it's gonna cost? And how much flood damage is gonna be? It's just, I mean, that's why I think this is so important, is educating local government officials to understand, penny wise, pound foolish kind of thing. And ounce prevention, think of 10 different.
The stormwater work group seems excited about this and like it will be useful, so hopefully the end product is for them.
It's enlightening.
Yeah.
I mean, it really, really is when you.
After sitting through those green infrastructure talks that sounded so nice online, that it really, in saying that retention ponds aren't doing the job, and the assumptions that were based or used to base the size of the retention ponds being completely
Wrong.
wrong.
I mean, and that's been acknowledged. I mean, that's why they updated the stormwater rule, was it was based, they felt that if you addressed, I may be butchering this, the quantity, you were gonna also address the quality, which was just totally wrong. And it was based on sediment. And so nutrients weren't even, you know, considered or addressed at all. So I don't know what the new stormwater rule is, but I do know they've revised it and trying to get to, you know, more accurately more accurately design them so that it's also getting the nutrients. Theoretically, the stormwater was post runoff could not exceed pre-runoff, and clearly that wasn't correct either.
Yeah. Lots of good comments in the chat about nature-based solutions and stormwater, and then canopy loss over time might give a good idea of relative scarcity or loss of hotspots.
We are looking at canopy loss
in
for sour.
watershed.
Yeah.
But that's our progress on this grant. We were working with an engineering student here, and he has kind of helped us get to this point and is now shifting focus a little bit to better fit his master's requirements. And so it'll be interesting to see what he does. I think he's going to use an ICPR model to look at pre and post Michael stormwater in maybe a Hub 12 that involves Panama City. So we'll stay in the loop on what he finds, but he's been really helpful so far to get us some of this information to this point. All right, now for our exciting new grant that we have. So we
Congratulations, Bob.
are excited to share that we received funding from the NOAA Marine Debris Grant Interception Technology Grant. That is bipartisan infrastructure law funding funneled through NOAA to do a project called Safeguarding the Bays, a joint effort to reduce debris in Northwest Florida. So again, still related to our stormwater. It will involve installing about 60 Lita traps. These are an example of what that looks like. They're made by a company, Enviropod. You can really like set them in and then pull them out. And then a large part of this grant will also be outreach and education, doing things like marking our stormwater drains, and doing some cleanups, having a teen ad campaign, and things like that. And then we will also be monitoring the contents of those litter traps over time to see what man-made debris is being caught by them. And so the goal is to kind of help the cities figure out if this is a technology they want to implement on a wider scale. And so we're really excited to work with them. We kind of developed this through that stormwater work group in partnership with those municipalities.
And you said 60, right?
60. That's the big number. And so just for a breakdown, we'll be hopefully installing these numbers in Lynn Haven, Panama City Beach, and Parker. So these are.
Did you get a staff person to? Good, because that's a lot of.
To install or monitor.
Yeah, and empty, I mean.
Yes, so it's.
Because they don't look that big, I mean.
No, they're not that big. How often do they have to be empty?
That's,
So
yeah, exactly.
we will monitor monthly and empty them monthly, essentially. Yes. And that'll tell us, you know, there's some, we've heard from some colleagues that have implemented these, that they're just, the places they thought they would put them in they're not getting anything really. And so it'll help us to be able to be like, oh, this, we don't really need this here, there's no.
Which is good to know.
It's good,
Yeah,
so we'll be able to relocate a little bit too. But it'll be a really good test to see how frequently we really do need to empty them. But for the monitoring that the grant requires and wants to see, monthly monitoring is what. we'll need to do.
and I'm assuming you're gonna track rainfall amounts and,
We'll record it, but for the grant, it'll really just, it's really focused on what we're catching in the, like the debris constituents.
right, but I mean, there may be one month where it doesn't rain at all,
Yeah,
and you're not gonna get anything, and then, so I'm just. That's what I was saying.
yeah, I think yes, like on our end, we will, we just haven't really gotten into that part yet.
Right, right.
To understand what's driving like the increase in litter, but I'm sure rainfall is the primary.
And then are you using what you find to develop the outreach materials?
So we'll do a little bit of that. There's a lot of things that we can already lean on.
Right.
So we'll kind of have a combination, I think.
Like it's all McDonald's, maybe then you put signs in McDonald's to say, hey.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll kind of have a wide approach of general education and then use our results to maybe hone
Take a
in
look,
on
yeah.
certain things, like what if we're mostly finding soap bottles or something like that. And so for the monitoring, we will be using the International Trash Trap Network system. They also do the International Coastal Cleanups. So our monthly monitoring will generally involve just a photo and the weight of the contents. This is kind of what that data sheet looks like. So it's not as terrible for the municipal staff that are going out there. We can also do it. We're working through with each city to see what.
Okay, that's about, I guess that's what 160 is.
Yeah.
Fair.
So monthly, it's really just a picture and the weight of contents and kind of filling out this kind of data sheet. And then at least 5 times a year, we will go through and do a detailed waste characterization where we're pulling that trap out, dumping it out and sorting and counting what things we're getting. And so we're talking with the cities now. First, that grant hasn't been executed and it's not ready to be, it probably will be executed October 1. So we're not really active yet, but we're kind of figuring out, you know, the capacity of each city to do some of these things and how, whether it needs to be saturated of staff coming out to help, if it can be more of a volunteer event thing that we organize, or if there's other partners or groups we can work with to do it. So we're starting to work through that piece now. But yeah, so only 5 times a year for the heavy
Detail,
duty.
right. Well, it might be interesting after the first good rainfall to go out and,
I anticipate we'll likely do it after, like our first one after
Yeah.
something like that. We'll probably have to honestly spread it out if we have 60
Right.
that all go in around the same time. We're not gonna be able to do it the same day after a
Right.
rain. So we'll have to figure out how we balance that. If like Sastrabep is responsible for doing all this. Some of the products that we'll have come out of this monitoring is like a story map of all the install sites with ideally little pop-out graphics of like, this is how much trash has been caught this time, that we continuously update, and then a kind of quarterly litter trap report cards for the cities so that they can see and figure out if they want to get more, if it's worth their investment in time. So those are 2 of the kind of monitoring sort of products that we'll make. And this is our timeline. It is a 3-year grant. So big push in the beginning to do the installation. We have to do lots of measurements on all the outfall, but the inlets, whatever they end up being, we can just do traditional grates or manhole. They have different fits basically for whatever kind of inlet it is. And so we'll have to take lots of measurements to do that, and then we'll have training and workshops for installation. We will work with the city staff to do the install. We will not do the install. That's some feedback we received from partners who have installed these litter traps, and they said it was a heck of a lot easier when they went out with actual like public works staff that regularly maintain these, because they just know the system's better than we would. So I think that will really help and make things smoother. And then we'll have a lot of outreach and education things that I'll get into, but you can see monitoring will continue throughout all of the grant basically. And so for the prevention strategy, which is really our outreach and education, we've got several things, quarterly cleanup events. We'll be doing storm drain marking. So Elisa did a really great job designing this cool stencil that we'd like to use, or something like it. We also right now have our teen ad campaign launched, and so this is something that our teen outreach committee came up with last year. And so almost all of the entries last year were really focused on marine debris and pollution, and so we thought this would be a great way to integrate this program into this grant. And then we will also do murals. So we wrote in funding to fund a lot of the stencil marking, but also a select number of these really nice murals on the drains and more walkable areas. Panama City Beach is thinking of relocating some of their proposed install sites to Pier Park. So that could be a really great place to have murals like this. So we'll see what they end up deciding. And then lots of stormwater debris outreach materials, and we also will be translating the materials into Spanish as well. So lots of good stuff to come out of this that we're excited about.
It'd be interesting to see for the ones that go into a stormwater pond versus surface water. Have you identified all of the sites yet, or is that still?
So yeah, we worked with the cities before we submitted to identify install locations. And so like City of Panama City Beach has a number of them at their wastewater treatment facility, because they tend to get a lot of debris and like waste, like man-made debris in their grates and inlets there. Everywhere else kind of picked a variety of locations, I would say. Lynn Haven focused on more areas that would be a little safer for volunteers to assist with, so they tend to be around parks. And then Parker and Panama City, there's a little more variety of where they're located.
And where I was going with that is for the ones that go into the stormwater pond, maybe I get the drone out and after rain, try to like see what's in the stormwater pond. And
off the top of my head, I'm not sure if they're in that go straight to a stormwater pond, but I don't
look. Like,
yeah, have to look. Probably have to look out things like the map.
Yeah, well, the cities or the
I mean,
should
we
know.
have it. It's just off the top of my head, I don't know, but that would be interesting. Okay, so that kind of sums up our marine debris grant. Again, we have not kicked it off yet. Hoping to start in October with the kickoff. Let me make sure. Let's see. Use these devices to drive volunteer litter cleanups. Yep. Public Works, yep, they do have hot spots in some of the areas that we'll work with them on to identify. So we're excited about it, and apparently Bay Arts Alliance is working with just some muralists already to think of stormwater mural designs. So I think we'll hopefully be ready to go to get those done. But yeah, any other questions on this? We're hoping that ultimately it's not all of our cities in the watershed. We did reach out to every city to see if they would be interested in. We would love to see maybe more interest after we do this from some of our different cities. Yeah, that's a good suggestion, Meg. Enjoy a GIS heat map of the hotspots to draw attention to problem areas. Yeah, I think that's something we could probably do on the LittaTrack map. Cool. All right, well, we will, I'm sure, have more updates about this as we kick it off. Okay, other updates. We've talked a lot about stormwater in different ways, and I wanted to highlight that we have our Tides and Talks program. Our next one is October 10th at 3 p.m. at Destination Panama City, and our topic will be stormwater. So we encourage you to come on out and attend. We do have a virtual option if you'd like to just listen in that way. I think we're going to have someone with sandhills talk about kind of native plants that you can plant in your yard to help ameliorate some of the flooding in your yard, and maybe rain gardens, and a few other speakers as well. We try to kind of have a couple of speakers at these so that it's not one person going forever. Another program that we have is Become an Oyster Gardener. A vertical oyster garden is what we really call it, and then a VOG for short. So if you've heard us talk about VOGs, then that's what this is. We had a pickup day at the Panama City Farmers Market for kind of the first batch of folks interested in, and we ended up getting a couple of random people that didn't even know the program existed that wanted to take some and start it on their talks. So I would say it was a very successful handout event of the VOGs, and so we're excited to see the VOGs of the VOGs.
Get in vogue. Think of your outreach.
Yes. I
Do
told
you want to get
Lisa.
involved or you want to get in vogue?
I'll let Lisa know your recommendation and she can take it and do with it what she will. But we are still taking people that would like to sign up to put these out, that you do need to be waterfront to deploy them off a dock or something. They need to not be punching a dog.
That's my courage.
And yeah, so we've had a few people send us some of their install pictures, which is really exciting to see. And then we're about to launch our monitoring survey form that they can fill out too.
Awesome. Is it gonna be like online where they can upload pictures?
Yeah, so we have kind of different levels of monitoring. So there's a level 1 where you don't do anything. You just put them out for us. There's a level 2 where you just weigh them monthly and send us pictures. And then a level 3, which is much more intensive, of course, where we ask you to count the live oysters, the dead oysters, spat, and tell us what critters you have growing on them, and pictures and weight. I think those are the big things. So we have a handful of people in kind of each of the categories.
So you need to tap into your AI folks, and so you'll take the pictures and then feed that into the computer and let AI do the counting.
Yeah, that's true.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
That would be really nice. We'll work on that. And then the other thing I wanted to draw your attention to is we have our second annual ad campaign competition. And so this is open to all middle school and high school students in Bay and Gulf County. Gotta submit entries by September 30th. There's lots more information on this flyer, but this is the same ad campaign that our marine debris interception technology grant will help continue to kind of fund and support. And so FSU Panama City is going to give winners scholarships. So first place winner will receive a $750 scholarship, second $500, third $250. So that's if they
Very
go to
nice.
CPC, but a really great opportunity for our local students
Yeah.
to design something cool and maybe win something from it. Okay, our next meeting is October 17th. We will have a guest speaker, Janelle Johnson, with the Fisheries Independent Monitoring Program with FWRI. She's gonna give us kind of a background of that program and what's going on in that program in our watershed. So that'll be a great one to make sure you come to. And I'm sure we'll have more sour updates for you too. And then big things, National Estuaries Week starts on International Coastal Cleanup Day. So this is really a week to celebrate our estuaries. And kicks off with great events with those International Coastal Cleanup.
Oh, that's next week.
Yeah. So Saturday are several cleanups. There's Lake Powell cleanup, Love the Bay cleanup day. There's a, what?
Everyone's welcome.
Yes, everyone is welcome at all of these, really. There's a cleanup at Pineapple Willie's and then the Russellfield City Pier.
That was it.
Oh yeah, Lake Powell's has free pizza. If you go to the one at the boat with the boat ramp.
No,
Camp Hillside have it too.
they come over.
Oh, they come over, that's right.
I've got to send you the drone shots I did last time.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Of,
Lake Isle. Well,
It's really
it's
pretty.
more the outfall than the lake itself.
yeah.
But I got some nice shots of the outfall, because it was actually connected to the Gulf at the time. So,
If there are other cleanup events that you know of, please let us know. We'd love to update this flyer and push it back out. We looked in, okay. Yes, received to open next week. Okay. Yeah, I reached out to Rish and they said the one on the 21st was like a private event for the 21st, but the 28th is when they must be doing the more public one. That's good to know. Thanks, Meg. And then also on the 28th is our first annual 5K and fun run. We are looking for volunteers
Fun
to
and
help
fun.
us at the Watershed. Or anything like that. So if you're interested in coming out but didn't register, we would love to have you there and help us hand out water and just kind of monitor the trail. We're really looking for kind of like trail monitors right now.
How many do you have enrolled for the 5K so far?
The last one that I remember was like 130. So we've got 130 people, which we're really excited about.
Do you have folks going to split times at the different points along the way?
you got the electronic mark. You
Yes,
talk about
we
the
have.
for amount in time.
When somebody crosses the 1 mile mark, calling out what time they've run.
Oh,
I don't know if they still do that now that everybody has phones, but.
well,
We have well, you'll get a race bib that'll track your finish. I don't think it'll be set up where there's like I don't think there's like a halfway point monitor for it.
although that would be cool to have like a
Mhm.
screen. Is that talking?
Well, a screen or a person just calling out times. I was wondering if anybody had, how that was handled these days, of course, with new technology.
Most races don't do that for 5Ks.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the
They're
chips
so
will,
fast.
the chips will automatically send the data to the person. There should be a personnel who's holding the computer.
Holding the,
Yeah, so the time will be coming in, and then they usually publish the results like within an hour after the race, so it's pretty fast.
yeah, things have changed so much. since-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything, everybody has their own watch.
Yes, that too.
We did get some really great donations from Pet Supplies Plus, so we are encouraging people, you can bring your leashed dogs and fastest doggo will get a really nice basket from Pet Supplies Plus, so if you're on the fence about bringing your dog, you should. But yeah, we're really excited about it and hopefully the weather cooperates.
Mm.
Registration is still open, and we'll take race day registration as well, so if you are still on the fence, still come that morning and register.
I do plan on being here with a drone,
Sweet,
at least at this point.
But you'll be running while drone will heck no.
Won't run, do not run. Ride my bike rider, but
and then some of the prizes, we've got Minutes and Miles has donated a voucher of $150 for the first men and women overall for a pair of new running shoes. Fit to Run has donated $75 vouchers, that'll go to the second place overall folks. And we've got some other good prizes for the kids too in the fun run, so everyone worked really hard to try and get sponsors and get out there and spread the word, so
you did great.
they did a really awesome
150.
job. I think we're at 130,
That's
I don't know.
That's awesome for your
if
first
Lisa's on
run.
here to confirm. That's the latest number that I
That's
remember here.
very cool.
Really good.
Congratulations, yeah.
And that is really all I had for today. Do anyone have any other National Estuaries Week events going on that you want to share, or any other program updates you want to share? Opening the floor. Were you gonna say something? You're not sure.
Looks like it.
Yeah, well, I did, and I'm sure Jess told you, it is official, well, not like publicly official, but it's official that we'll be getting the EPA does, state NC, National Coastal Condition Assessment every 5 years. They do it. The way they designed their sampling protocol, it's to have a statistically valid assessment nationwide. But we got grants for St. Andrews and Choctawhatchee to add sampling so that you also get a statistically valid assessment of St. Andrews, St. Joe Bay as well. And so we're getting that through the same pot of money that funded the state of the watershed report. So
And we just got the draw of the sites for the NCCA, so now I need to
Awesome.
submit.
permanents.
Yes.
What kind of permits?
Definitely a SAL. FWC, we'll start there. Yes. All right, y'all, that's all I've got. Meg, thank you for sharing that the fall bay day for the St. Joe, the Friends of St. Joe Buffer Preserve is canceled because they're doing construction at the buffer preserve right now. So we normally go to that. They're gonna do their one in February. All right, well, we will see you in October for Janelle's great talk about fisheries independent monitoring. So thank you all for popping in today. Appreciate it.
Great job.
Bye, everyone.